G'day, welcome back. Today I'm continuing the series on World Chess Championship blunders, and we're making really good progress. And so we're up to 1995 with the match between Anand and Kasparov. You will remember last time Kasparov beat Short, and that was the first of these splits in the World Chess Championship where FIDE continued with its own set of matches. However, I'm just focusing on the classical or traditional World Chess Championship, as it sort of has been called, which was the sort of the continuation with Kasparov, the reigning World Chess Champion. Okay, so quickly go to the capture page here. Just quickly look at Wikipedia, showing the background to the match. So this one was held in the US, in fact, at the top World Trade Center. Background, and then as with the traditional sort of FIDE routine, you had a qualifying tournament and then candidates matches. Qualifying tournament, you can see he showed up. Now Kramnik, you can see he shows up for the first time, so obviously we're getting to more modern periods. And you got Anand came second in the qualifying tournament. A few big names are still hanging around, actually. Where is it? Polyakevsky's still there. Anyway, candidates tournaments, and Short was seeded into it as the loser of the World Chess Championship match previously, whereas Anand beat Romanchin, then beat Adams, and then beat Kamsky to become the challenger. And then there is the profile of the match. It's kind of interesting. We'll look in a second, but Anand was the first guy to win a game 9 after 8 draws, and then the next 5 games saw Kasparov really bounced back. He was kind of angry, possibly, and he won 4 of those 5, and then the match was effectively over. And just let me close that. And here's the setup. You could see that on the game score, the match score over here. Anand won game 9, and then Kasparov went on this tear. And during that period, we're going to look at 2 of the blunders here. One by Anand in game 11, very famous one, the Sicilian Dragon. And then the next one in game 12 by Kasparov, kind of a sort of an end game error. Got a couple of games could have been covered, but I think we'll just focus on those 2 games for today. Okay, so let's get into that. Okay, there's the sort of classic Yugoslav Dragon position. Now, Daniel King covered the whole game on his channel, Power Play Chess. So if you want to go through the whole game, I definitely recommend watching that. But I'm just going to focus on the blunder at the end by Anand. Let's just move quickly to position here. Maybe after we've analysed the blunder, we'll have a look at what's going on in this position. There's a few little sort of tactics going on. There's weak pawn there, and weak pawn there, and weak pawn there, and so on. So that Black's got a bit of an edge here. Obviously, he's got his double rooks on the c-file. Position's quite okay. I think Anand thought he had an edge in the position, and he'd been kind of relying on this next move, which is a blunder. So let's play the next move and see what's going on here. Have a look at this. It's only a few move tactic, which is wrong, which Anand would definitely normally spot. So it's quite odd what happened here. So he's obviously played knight b6, and he's forking Kasparov's rooks. There is a mistake in his analysis. I mean, obviously Black can't lose the exchange. Anyway, so once you've had a bit of a look at the position, let's go through the continuation, and then we'll have a look at what should have been done later. Okay, so both rooks are attacked. We can actually move one rook with check. Excellent. So now you think Black's getting out of it. No, that's not right, because it relies upon King a3, main move. So we are now attacking the rook. So the rook on c8 is still attacked, and the rook on b4 is also attacked. White in check on a4 because the knight covers that square. So everything looks fine. But obviously what happened is the next move, Gary played the next move, and Vichy resigned. And the next move, it is a desperado rook. And the problem is that if Vichy takes the rook back on b4, then the white rook on d2 is lost. And the other continuation is to take the rook on c2, and check, and discovered check, and now the loose rook on e1 drops. So that's kind of unfortunate. So basically what's happened here is that Kasparov ends up 2 pawns, easily winning end the game. So, and the B pawn is very dangerous as well. So let's have a look at what should have been going on. Go back to this position here. Knight b6 was a mistake. There's only actually really one good move for white, and that's c3. So let's go through and have a look. I mentioned all those sort of pawns. So obviously we can take c3. It's best to stop the check on the second rank first, and then obviously the b5 pawn is going to drop on the next move. It's going to be broadly a balanced 6. Our pawns are equal. Okay. So that is rather unfortunate, that blunder in that game. That quite a famous blunder, because the thing is that Anand had got 1-0 ahead by beating Kasparov, and then Kasparov brought out the dragon. Looked like it was heading towards a draw. Anand pushed too much, and he lost that game. And this was part of that streak where Kasparov won 4 out of 5. Okay, the only other game we're going to look at is the next one, which is kind of a simple-ish endgame blunder. So let's go to the key move. Okay, rook takes h3. Look at this position. White, Kasparov is winning, +2 according to the engine. Should play rook a7. I mean, it looks like he's probably going to pick up the a pawn, and probably past a pawn is enough to win. Okay, so Kasparov had something else in mind. Took the c7 pawn. Looks like it's giving up a rook, but it's not. Obviously, he thought this tactic would force the c pawn through, and he would win the game. However, that is not what happened. So let's just go into continuation. Have a look, see if you can spot there's a flaw in the combination. Once you've spotted it, let's go through the line. Check. King must come up. Now, this is the thing, right? Obviously, can't take, because there's no way for this, takes too many moves for this rook to get behind the pawn and it would queen, right? So this is where I think you can see it's highlighting rook to e7. I think that is probably the move which Kasparov missed, because otherwise black could, start advancing his king, and he could possibly get his king in front of the pawn, but rook e7. I don't think he can. Everything else just dead loss. e7, and that's the thing. So he's held the rook indirectly, and now if you go rook takes and then king takes, then the pawn is not going to make it, right? So can't do that. So forced to push the pawn, take, and now what's happened there? So from a nicely, easily winning position, is now basically dead drawn. King e6, because it's 3 versus 3. Rook a7. Okay, we can probably pick up that pawn. We push our pawn, take, and obviously that's where the game was declared a draw. The h pawn is offering enough counterplay. Let's actually go through the engine line just so you can see what sort of a typical continuation it might be. Okay, keep on pushing our pawn. Do we push our pawn? Push the pawn. Threaten to support the pawn with our king. Get behind. Got to take it. And I think this probably would even be drawn if black didn't have a pawn. Although obviously it depends upon the position a little bit. And now it's a draw. That's probably sort of the likely outcome. Okay, cool. So that was the second blunder I was going to look at. One quite straightforward, just a little bit of I forgot to redo that chart. Let me redo that chart now so we can just have a quick look at that. And you can see where the blunder was. One side was winning and it quickly went back to a draw. So what we'll look at now is the tier list. Haven't looked at that for a while. I've rejigged it, and then now we've got these ones at the top, and you can see there's the Anand and Kasparov blunders from this match. The Anand blunder, I mean, it's probably not as bad in material terms as some of the other blunders by some of the older generation of players, but I think it was pretty important from a match perspective. So that's why it's ended up on the sort of the 4-5 star level. So it might be one of the ones we could upgrade later on. But anyway, that just gives you a sense of where these are plotted. You can see there's actually now that Kasparov and Karpov played so many matches, there's so many of the blunders listed here, right? Because one or two blunders each World Chess Championship seems to be the norm as we go forwards. Although I think in general the standard play has improved quite a lot in terms of accuracy and not the actual shockers like Chigorin. Okay, just the 2 games today. Hope you found that interesting, and thank you very much for watching.